May the force be with you is a phrase used to wish a person well to overcome a challenge. The invitation in this podcast, May the life force be with you, is to explore what it means to truly feel alive, to appreciate the physical, emotional and spiritual connection to our energy, and finally to understand how this impacts who you are and all that you do. May this conversation inspire you to thrive. Welcome to May the Life Force be with you. I'm Fiona.
I'm Karila.
Hi, how are you today, Karila?
You know, because we've just recorded an episode with a guest, I would say I'm like 200 times better than I was before the guest came on. But that's the effect of May the Life Force be with you, which is why you should be sharing and promoting and liking and all of that stuff that we need your help with.
And I feel exactly the same. So when we say each of these episodes is an activation, we're not kidding.
No.
So wherever you listen, being present, which is something that comes up quite a lot when we have these conversations, and just feeling the energy, not just the words of the guests that we have, can be really profound. I mean, certainly for us, sometimes it feels like I've just been punched in the gut, heart, or head, depending on who it is that we're speaking to. But I feel quite energized. I feel chilled, but energized at the same time. So yeah, definitely in a different space to where I was an hour ago, that's for sure.
And do you want to talk about where you were an hour ago?
Well, I was an hour younger an hour ago, which I guess is leading into kind of what we were talking about, which I had shared with you that I was absolutely fine turning 50. Absolutely fine. Bring it on. I want to dance to the 90s and everything is good with the world. Yesterday, I had a crash and I just felt time passing really quickly. It actually makes it like I can physically feel the sadness that gives me. And the passing of time and lots of different things, passing of time of your youth, of your looks, of your skin, of your vitality, of your life force, of your energy sometimes. And I just really felt it like a kick in the guts yesterday. And as I was mindfully making my mushrooms this morning, I was kind of stirring my coffee cup thinking, it's just your thoughts, Faye. You're just here present now, enjoying this lovely hot beverage. Just your thoughts. Nothing's actually changed in the 3 weeks, which sometimes works. But today it hasn't. I'm just really feeling the passage of time. And it's making me a bit sad.
I feel you.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like something was going on. There's a lot of solar flare and big activity going on the planet and in the ethers. And
Tell me about solar flare.
So I don't know that much about solar flare, but I know that it's stronger than it's been ever. And it's like blasting us with solar energy. And like it's a thing, like the solar flares from the sun are stronger than we've ever known in our lifetimes before at the moment. And it's blasting us. And it, you know, the whole planet's being hit by it. And I feel like, you know, when you get a bit too much sun, like I quite regularly am feeling that kind of dried out, burnt out, getting older feeling, you know, but I don't think it is just the fact we're getting older. I feel
okay. I've never done this ever during our podcast recording, but I just Googled solar flare, right? And we are recording this on Tuesday, June 4th. And this article is from yesterday, and it's saying that a solar storm that's bigger than any they've ever imagined or recorded before is due to hit the Earth today.
Yeah. See?
So it's a
So that solar
G1
storm will
class
have been
geomagnetic
happening.
storm.
That solar storm will have been happening. And like
Yeah.
since
So apparently
yesterday,
June.
I've been feeling really achy, really dehydrated, like suddenly older. A bit like you just described it, like suddenly, like, why am I achy and older? And yeah, and so yesterday my guides were channeling on Magic Month, which is an energy forecast show that they do every month. And they were not talking about solar flares. They were talking about the energy of June. And they were saying that, you know, the June, the currents of the earth are starting to change. There's like a whole magnetic recurrenting that is happening partly in response to these solar flares, partly part of our journey into the age of Aquarius and ascension, is literally the way energy flows through the earth has to change. And what they were saying is that if you do not give yourself enough space in everything that you do, what you're going to plug into is the currents that are draining away from the old. And you're suddenly going to feel your whole energy like drained. And if you slow down, if you give yourself space, then you're going to plug into the earth and the new currents and feel very, very full of life and energy. And how they described it, I was like, I have definitely felt that before, where suddenly it's like, it's a bit like what you described. It's like time is just going away from you and everything's going away from you and you're feeling but what the guides were saying is like, it's not you. You're feeling the energy draining out of the old world and you've plugged into that.
It doesn't feel like me. It doesn't. It
It's not
feels like there
you.
is something. It's not me. And it's kind of fucking annoying because I know it's not me. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like this. And I know how to not feel like this, but I do. And it's just like, it's really annoying. And when I was just reading there about the solar flares, it was saying, you know, it can disrupt the electromagnetic fields within Earth. Can disrupt technology. It can disrupt satellites. It can disrupt our communication channels. Think what it's doing to us as energy fields if that's what it's doing to our devices. And that's what I take from it. It's like, I feel like you said, like it's like being plugged in somewhere and it be draining rather than lifting up. But I feel disconnected from self, like something else is plugged in and taken over for a little while. It's a really weird feeling I
It's
have.
really disorientating. And you feel really
Mm-hmm.
like everything is draining and everything is draining away and there's no time. And it's like, because that
Anxious.
that is what is happening to the age of Pisces. You know, it's okay because there's another age coming in. But like
When?
there is like, we are in that draining away stage, or the slow, you know, it's a slow death. And if you've ever witnessed anybody have a slow death like dementia or Alzheimer's, and that slow draining and disorientating that happens, that is what is happening to the age of Pisces, within us, around us, in the great temples and pillars and systems. And there are these moments where you do plug into it, and then you just go into it. You're like, and like, it's like being in a Dali painting, you know?
Well, I feel like my face is melting, that's for sure. If that's also what it's like being in a Dali painting, I definitely feel like my face is melting, and not in a good way. Yeah, it's a really strange energy feeling that it's hard when you can't put your finger on it, and you can understand how it can impact people's behavior, your decision making, everything down to road rage and how people interact with each other out in the streets. You can start to see how things can shift. And, we're in election period in the UK, and everything's just a little bit more argumentative than normal. And it just has an edge that then feels like it has the ability to escalate if we come back to being present and held again, if we can't find ways to protect and hold our own energy away from that external force.
Well, this is what, this was a message before. It wasn't the message that came through in the forecast webinar. But what the guides were saying was like, with all of it, you have to treat it like you're dealing with an old person that is dying, with the same level of patience. So rather than going, like if somebody with dementia suddenly gets aggressive, you don't go into an argument about it. You're just like, it's okay. You're just supporting the death. Essentially, you're supporting the process that they're going through with a huge amount of compassion and a huge amount of not really expecting them to be functioning in the way that they would if they weren't dying, if they weren't going through a slow death. And this is the advice from the Rainbow Grandmothers on how we are meant to be caretaking for the death of Pisces, is with just a huge amount of care and compassion and witnessing and compassionately holding space for the malfunctioning and the draining and
it's disassociation that we say in hypnosis, when you're like, you can feel all the emotions, but you're disassociated from it, but you still have that awareness of it, and you can still be compassionate, but you don't have to be in it yourself. That's what I took from that. It's such a beautiful way that you presented that disconnection from that energy. So it's around you, but if you flip it to kindness, compassion, being aware, not trying to ignore it, but not trying to combat it with the same energy, then it feels like it does diffuse and it passes quicker.
What the guide said yesterday was, they said in June, and I know some people might be listening beyond June, but I'm sure you're listening at a time that is relevant. So they said that in this, things are about to, this is going to get really strong, because they weren't talking about the solar flares, they were talking about the magnetics, but they were like, the electric magnetics are about to change. And so you're going to have these times where you're really feeling the drain of the old, and then you're going to have to find a way to get back in to the flow of the new. And the bits of advice that they gave were, borrow from nature. So borrow the life force energy of the older and the wiser. If you're feeling really ungrounded, go and get some roots from a tree. If you're feeling really uncompassionate, drink some rose tea. Like, just borrow the energy from nature to hold yourself in place.
So what should I do for the elixir of youth? What's
youth?
when you're feeling?
It's interesting you keep saying this because I've been asking my guys, like, how do I prepare for what's next? And they're like, get younger. And I'm like, what do you mean get younger? And they're like, get younger. They just keep answering that.
No, message received. Message received. I know what you mean. I know what your guys mean. And you know what? It means being playful, being more, not risky in that way, but like adventurous and playful and less judgmental. And I saw this beautiful clip yesterday that I shared with a couple of people actually, of this video that someone had shared of their toddler, and it just said they know how to regulate with their immune system. With this toddler was just lying on the dirt, just like watching life and being really present and just totally freaking chilled, just lying on the ground, playing with the leaves. And I'm like, what joy, just being at peace. And it, there's a lot of wisdom from children that we ignore. So message received.
But also, what is younger? Younger is feeling like you have time in the bank, right? And so, how do you get younger? You make sure your day is time rich. And this is what the guys were saying yesterday. They were like, you need to approach everything. And they weren't speaking to me, they were speaking to everybody. They were like, give more time than you need for everything, because it's when you're rushing in to anything that you're plugging into that drain energy. If you're coming into things time rich, then you're holding space for the new energy to flow in. If you're coming in time poor, you're in the death of Pisces, baby.
You're already in deficit. You're already behind, right? You're already using up the stores because you're expelling. It's almost like it's like leaking out of you, the energy, when you're
resonating with the death of Pisces, and that's really strong right now. And so you're in resonance with it and you just plug straight into it. Whereas if you come in time rich, you're not resonating with that energy. You're not able to plug into it, because resonance is being a life force match on the inside for what is happening on the outside. And one thing that death does not have is time. And so being time rich in these crazy solar flare times is the antidote. It is the medicine. It is the way to be younger. And the other thing I feel called to say, is because it's come through, is when you are plugged into the death energy, when you are plugged into the grief of it all. And Pisces does deserve to be grieved. It was amazing. Like, what an amazing time in human history.
And when was Pisces? Just for anyone that's listening, when you say that, what period is that?
So it's 2,000-year period where,
oh wow,
where the sun like the sun is aligned with the astrological constellation of Pi. It's like an actual thing. Like the sun was aligned for 2,000 years with the constellation of Pisces, and now the sun is starting to align with the constellation of Aquarius. And how I perceive it is it's like a filter. So if you imagine like a theater light, and you put the filter over the theater light, it's like all of our consciousness was filtered through what Pisces represented, which was, you know, firstly, symbol of the fish, story of Jesus, last 2,000 years. Pisces is the fish, and Jesus' symbol is the fish. But secondly, Pisces is all about separation and polarity and black and white. It's you know, that's what it is. It's about individualization. And so that was the age of Pisces. And like that filter is what's going through a slow death. And the new filter, which is very different, which is Aquarius, it is a woman holding water. It's about being able to hold the flow.
Come back to holding. Mm-hmm.
And it's about feminine principle holding the flow. And it's about community and co-creativity. And so, you know, these are very different things. And we're in the time where this filter is literally changing in the sky.
And if the age of Pisces was 2,000 years old, please don't tell me that the crossover takes 2,000 years as well.
No, it's about a 200, there's different argument for it, but there's about a 200-year broad period. And then there is, you know, we're in like the 2012 to 2033 is the like condensed version of that 200 years. So like we are in the crossover over, and actually the balance point was last year. So this is the moment, if you imagine it like
so now
sand.
Slightly more.
Yeah, like there's 1 grain of sand extra. Like we are right. 1% more Aquarian than we are Piscean after last year. So like we are really in the thick of the turn. We are in the turning point. And you know, our consciousness, a lot of that, like our consciousness is where this truth is happening. This truth shift is happening. So it is completely understandable that part of you is feeling old and like time is running out, and like because that is happening inside of us to our Piscean consciousness. And it's happening in the depths of the magnetic body of the planet and in the sun and in everything. And so what the guides were saying is like, you know, in those grief moments, just remember to celebrate what you are grieving, because celebration is how the heart lets go. And you know, the age of Pisces absolutely deserves to be grieved. It's part of our doulaing, it's part of our midwifery to honor what is changing and what is dying, and to be in ceremonial reverence of it and celebration.
Yeah. That makes sense to how I feel. And also what's going on in the world. Like it's the small to big picture, right? The micro to the macro. There's the just how I wake up in a funk versus how the world wakes up in a funk at the moment. And, you know, I'm just absorbing all of that. Sorry, guys, I got lost in it for a minute, but just absorbing that and then kind of like, again, the disassociation, kind of pulling back from that to see the bigger picture at the same time. But I think what I'm going to come back to for this episode is compassion and softness and for self and for that kind of wider community. I think your advice around how would you treat a loved one with dementia or some, an elderly patient. And I think that's it's a hard lens because there's so many emotions wrapped in that for me, but it also is a heartfelt lens as well.
And, in a way, there is probably you wouldn't let the person with dementia continue to drive or be in charge. And so there is this need for us to go, actually, powers that were, I'm going to take that off you now.
Are they the dementia patients, the old systems? That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like, but rather than being like, we have to go to war with you, and it's like, actually, we can
Here's
see
a cup of tea.
Yeah, like let's calm you down now, and not give you those car keys anymore, and just say this is in a way like what happens in family lines when somebody starts to get dementia is the younger generations, the new consciousness, have to kind of step up into the leadership role. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening is, we're getting to the point, and there's that period where everybody like doesn't want to talk about it and denies it. And like, we're getting to that point where it's like, no, you're not allowed to drive anymore because it's not safe. But we're going to be the safety that comes in and very gently takes those keys off you and says, actually, it's time for you to rest over there and have some story time and just be comforted through the process that you're going through. And what a different way to be perceiving and approaching what's happening in the world if you look at it through this lens.
Love that guidance. Thank you for shifting my life force, energy, and perspective. Today, I felt like I had a personal session there. I hope everybody else got something out of that. It wasn't just my personally shared guidance, because that was powerfully received. Thank you so much.
And do you feel a little bit younger?
Yes.
Yeah. Because remember, as old as you feel when you're in the drain of Pisces, you can feel as young in the new energies of Aquarius.
I will remember that. And it's true, because when you go up to the next age bracket, I'm now the youngest in the next age bracket, so it's the same principle.
You are the youngest you are ever going to be, baby.
On that note, may the life force be with you, Karila. Thank you for my top up.
We hope this conversation has topped up your life force energy. If it has, then please help us spread the life force. Like, share, subscribe, all of that. And may the life force be with all of us.